Hey, my name is Andy Hopper. I'm running to be your representative for Texas House District 64. I live here in Wise County. I'm a software engineer. I've worked in the defense industry for most of my career. I'm a chief warrant officer in the Texas State Guard, and I've been in since 2014. Blessed to serve with my oldest son, Grant. He's a sergeant, and he actually just graduated from college with a mechanical engineering degree, and just got married to a girl in Bridgeport. So we are blessed to have a daughter. We've never had a daughter. So I have three boys. They're 23, 21, and 17. They're all just outstanding conservative men. And my middle son, Sam, my little youngest is Ian. So we homeschooled them all. And so glad that we moved to Wise County in 2010. So we actually have lived in the district for 26 years, this district that I'm running for. 13 years in Denton and 13 years here in Wise County. So running because we need strong conservatives in the Texas House, and we've got to save Texas. Time is running short.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have four questions for you, Andy. And this first one is from the Wise Republican Party. And they're asking this: how will you address the property tax increase on our homes each year? And if there is a surplus next year, what would you do with that?
Right. Here's the deal. We've been running surpluses for the last couple sessions. This session, we started session with a $33 billion surplus. And instead of giving it back to you, they gave $18 billion to corporations, $2 billion for digital curriculums that we did not want, and only 12.7 actually went to property tax relief, which is a drop in the bucket. When you consider that by the end of the session, the comptroller had actually estimated they even had a higher surplus than what they started with. Here's the deal. They passed the largest spending increase in Texas history, over $65 billion, 40% in 2 years. And until we get our hands around basically limiting the growth of government, but if we would limit the growth of the government and basically push that surplus back down in terms of buy down of the M&O, we could actually get rid of school taxes within, which is about 45% of your tax bill in the next 10 years. The thing is that it is very doable to abolish property taxes in Texas. It requires force of will, and it requires government growth to be capped.
Very good. Our second question is from the Southwise Republican Club. A little lengthy. Will you support legislation which holds school administrations and school boards legally accountable for their decisions regarding the inappropriate exposure of children to students of another sex while at school and on any school-released function? How would you accomplish that?
Right. That does not assault my sensibilities at all. I'm not in any way favor of limiting the right of anyone to the courts. And if there is, and there is, I mean, you hear about these stories. There are absolutely situations where girls are put in compromised situations with boys in many school districts around the state. They are forced to basically acknowledge or accept people's gender identity. And the reality is there's just two genders. There's just two genders, and the reality is that every school child should expect to be safe. Parents send their kids to school, and they want their kids to be safe. They don't expect their little girls to be in a bathroom with somebody that identifies as an opposite sex. So yes, there needs to be accountability, and in the absence of that, I have no issue with the idea that people should be able to sue any of the people in the chain of command at any level of government that's perpetrating this on little kids.
Very good. Our third question, out of the Boyd, Texas, the Patriot Society. Do you believe the legislation should do a formal investigation of Colony Ridge and the involvement the governor has in this community, which houses dangerous cartel members putting lives of Texans at risk? What steps would you take to protect our citizens?
Yeah. Well, first of all, the border's wide open. And these colonies, these colonias, as they call them, exist because there are literally, at government numbers, 10 million that have come across the border in the past two and a half years. Colony Ridge, the MMD for that, Municipal Management District, was actually passed in 2019 by the legislature. The guy that I'm running against actually voted to create that. And so someone knew years ago that this was going to be a thing and had it in the planning in the works. And there, if you follow the money of the developers and where it's going, and I think that's the thrust of this question, you do see that fall on some very interesting individuals in state government. So should Texas look into this? Should we have a full investigation? And so should citizens know who is basically profiting from the border invasion? Absolutely. I 100% agree with that.
Very good. Our fourth and final question, sir, is from the Wise County Conservatives. Based on your understanding of the U.S. Constitution, in what circumstances, if any, can a state lawfully nullify a federal action, law, or policy?
Okay. So it's interesting that the founders said that the only true guardians of our rights against the federal government are the people themselves. And I mentioned this out there. Federalist 26 says that the state legislature should always be vigilant and suspicious guardians of the rights of the citizens against the encroachments of the federal government. It turns out that Thomas Jefferson made it very clear that the federal courts are not the arbiters of the supreme arbiters of the Constitution. That is the states themselves. And the reality is that nobody should expect the federal government to be the managers of its own jurisdiction. It's ridiculous. So 100%, the states at all times are the arbiter of what the Constitution means. If that's not true, then we are in a union that is basically a tyranny, because we basically have unelected people telling us that what these words mean are something other than what it was originally understood by the people who wrote them.